pro women's bodybuilding event. After months and months of preparation, 20 of the top professional bodybuilders are here to compete on the stage in Roanoke, Virginia. Our first athlete comes from Victoria, Canada. This is Linnea Carlson-Brem at 5'2", 150 pounds. Steve, she looks like she's going to be real strong in this event.
In Detroit at the Pro World Championships, she was 6th. Last year at the Ms. International, she was 9th, which shows she has everything it takes to do well at the pro level. I don't see it happening here today.
Now, Steve, Linnea has a lot of muscle. Look at that back shot from the side. You can see the latissimus thickness. Look at her shoulders. What are you going to criticize her on here? Is it conditioning alone that's going to cost her?
Well, it's obvious. At 5'2", 150 pounds, she has plenty of muscle, but she needs to be sharper. This is a pro show. This is a beautiful athlete. Look at the muscle bellies, Tommy, and the flow of her body.
Linnea really is beautiful. She's got great lines, Steve. I have to agree. She's a little off here today. But the one thing I'd have to say is I'm not crazy about the routine. I think it needs to be a little bit faster. She's not carrying enough muscle like some of the men do that can pull off a routine that's this slow. More energy, more personality. That's what's needed.
Well, that's what's needed for the audience and for us. We want to see it. The judges, however, have a certain criteria. Let's talk about it.
The judging is based on 3 individual categories: symmetry, muscular development, and presentation.
Symmetry is proportion, shape, and balance, whereas muscular development is defined as density, separation, and definition. In the presentation round, the judges are looking for poise, confidence, muscular display, and control.
Based on that judging criteria, let's take a look at our next competitor in the Jan Tana. Another Canadian who is certainly familiar with the stage here at the Jan Tana. She was 12th in '97, and in '98, she placed 3rd. She's the outstanding Diana Cadu at 5'5", 148 pounds. I've seen her in better condition, Steve, but I'll tell you what a performance. Look at this lady go.
Diana is an exceptional athlete. After seeing that earlier pre-judging, I would have her in the top 10. Not 5, Tommy, because of her conditioning, as you said. Her muscularity is superb. Her balance is excellent. She needs to be sharper. Tommy, you had mentioned that Linnea's routine was too slow, but Diana's isn't much faster. How do you feel about this one?
Well, Steve, it's showing the personality, the moves. Look at the sex appeal we're seeing on this woman, regardless of the size of the muscle. She is really very flamboyant up there. It doesn't have to be a fast routine to really get the audience going. Wow, look at this woman. She is fabulous. With all the potential in the world, Steve, is it possible, looking at our last 2 competitors, being a little bit less than sharp in terms of conditioning? Could they be holding off for the Olympia, which is coming up in a few short months?
Diana's been here twice before. She's here to win. She's out of shape.
Well, I'll tell you what, this woman is nowhere near out of shape, and she is having a great time out there, just moving to the music. She is absolutely fabulous. This is Valentina Chapiga at 5'5", 114 pounds. She is in top condition and ready for this event, Steve.
During the earlier prejudging, Valentina excelled in all the rounds of judging. She is in excellent condition. She has beautiful symmetry, and she brings this audience to life.
She's a performer as well, Steve. I mean, look at this. You're right. The audience is now loving it. They're clapping to the music, and it is a lot of fun to watch an athlete who is prepared and just really getting into the groove of it after months and months of preparation. It's nice to see someone having fun up there.
She took 12th place at the Miss Olympia last year. I can see her placing being a lot higher this year if she decides to go in it. She needs to be a little sharper through her legs. Her upper body is full. She is in excellent condition, has done her homework, and should do very well here today.
Steve, I think I'm going to dismiss myself for a moment and go dance a little bit with Valentina, because I'll tell you what, I'm just moving to the groove here. The music is great. I'm loving it. This woman has a definite shot at this championship here today, and she may even have a shot at a few of the hearts of the males in the audience here today as well.
Well, during that prejudging, Tommy, I would place Valentina in the top 3. There's no question she is in the top 5. It is all up to the judges.
Man, we are having some fun. See, this is a perfect illustration of exactly what I was talking about earlier. Putting the personality into it, having fun on stage, and being a performer. I don't think it's enough just to have muscle, and she certainly does have a lot of that, but we need to turn that audience on and make it more than just an athletic sport, but rather entertainment as well. This next athlete, finally, someone who comes from the United States. Coming from Bedford, Texas, Betty Parizo. Believe it or not, 43 years old. weighed in today, massive and muscular, 170 pounds, Steve, at only 5'6".
Last year at this event, she took 5th. At the World Championships this year, she was 5th also. Betty would love to have a higher placing and can do it. I like Betty, Tommy. I've known for quite some time, even through the amateur ranks. I believe she deserves whatever she gets. She's a hard worker. She's great for the sport, an excellent competitor. What is lacking here today is when she turns around. She's soft through the hamstrings. If that wasn't there, she has a good shot at taking this event.
No question about it. Interestingly enough, Betty is also one of the older competitors in the athletic event here today. It's a real testimonial to what can be done at any age, and at 43, she's certainly still young as an athlete, particularly in the sport of bodybuilding.
Well, you can see it here, Tommy, in the back. She looks terrific. But when she stands next to the other top 5 competitors, you can see they're just an edge ahead. If that wasn't the case, I really do believe she could win this event or any other pro women's event.
Now, in this particular case, the music really got people up and going here. Terrific, and it was certainly a tough act to follow coming in behind Valentina. But a great job. The audience loves it. They are here to see the top IFBB female bodybuilders, and they're getting nothing less. When we come back, the beautiful Cathy Lafrancois and more of the IFBB Jan Tana. The IFBB Jan Tana Classic Pro Women's Bodybuilding Competition from Roanoke, Virginia. I'm Tom Twilliger along with Steve Stone, and we have seen 4 incredible athletes. We're looking at the 5th, and one of many athletes from Canada. This incredible woman is from Quebec, Canada. This is Cathy Lafrancois at 5'3", 130 pounds. She is definitely outstanding in this event.
There's no question about it. Cathy is what women's bodybuilding is all about and where they want it to go. She is beautiful, Tommy. She has an excellent physique. I would like to see her sharper. If she is sharp, she can place top 3 at a Miss Olympia contest.
She's been training for 10 years, Steve, and 10 years competing. She must have started out with a pretty outstanding physique to begin with. Good genetics definitely took its toll here.
I think a lot of the women, when they go into the pro ranks, believe they have to carry more size than they should. Cathy is one of them. I think coming in a little lighter, a little leaner, would give her even more of an advantage with her symmetry and structure.
You're right, Steve, because then we'd see a lot more of the lines. The genetics would be even cleaner and more apparent at that point. But I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying this. Look at this routine. Very nice. It's creative. It's showing muscularity and the human form to its definite best.
We always talk about publicity, Tommy. Cathy, no matter what happens here, will get a lot of it because she is photogenic.
Steve, another thing that the magazines love to photograph, that is muscle. And certainly our next competitor, Mary Ellen Jarumbo, at 5'2", 143 pounds of muscle, definitely personifies that. Look at this gal. She's in great shape, Steve. Where do you think she's lacking, though?
Powerlifting champion. That's why she... It is her symmetry that hurts her.
Perhaps the lack thereof, Steve, would be a better way of putting it. You know, after 14 years of professional bodybuilding, if her symmetry hasn't come up by now, it's just not going to happen. Perhaps it's due to a conflict between the two loves, bodybuilding and powerlifting. You can't take anything away from Mary's condition here, however, and part of that has to do with experience. She has competed in all 8 of the previous Jan Tana competitions, and she's well loved here.
She just doesn't live in the gym, Tommy. She plays softball, tennis. She was a cheerleader. She enjoys skiing, basketball, ice hockey. She's an all-around athlete.
No question about it. I feel good, too, as we move on to our next competitor in the Jan Tana. This incredible athlete, Maria Callow-Wallace, at 5'5", 166 pounds, from Alexandria, Virginia. Looks outstanding here today and packs a lot of muscle, Steve.
Originally from Argentina, she was a track and field national competitor. That's where she gets the foundation for this physique and the competitive drive to be here today.
Steve, you're right, because it really takes a lot of psychological drive to get to this level. And after all, Maria's only been training bodybuilding-wise for 6 years. Look at the amount of muscle. Granted, I think you'd agree, Steve, she needs to be a lot sharper. She really didn't do her homework here in terms of cardiovascular training and perhaps diet. But the foundation, as you mentioned, is definitely there.
I know a lot of people that compete south of the border, as you would say, Tommy. And the physiques are judged differently. They don't go for that real sharp physique when you're winning national championships. They like the bigger, muscular girls. And carrying it up here, it doesn't work.
No question about it. It just will not cut it. She'll learn and pull herself up the ranks of IFBB championships, as did 29-year-old Amy Pazzo at 5'5", 165 pounds. Nice, soft lines. I really like this kind of physique on a female bodybuilder, Steve.
I think the judges will agree with you because during the earlier pre-judging, I ranked Amy very high in this competition. She might squeeze inside the top 5 here tonight. Amy, when she had turned pro, there was a lot of high hopes because of what you've said, Tommy. They love her structure. They like her lines. I have seen her in better condition, though.
Well, Steve, what's it going to take for a woman like this to get into better shape for an event here?
It would probably just take a little bit more cardio because, Tommy, she has everything else it takes, and she's done it before. I've seen her in better condition, so she knows it. She has to get it out of her head that because you're a pro, you have to be bigger. Amy's beautiful, and she's a great athlete. She can win.
No question about it. The sport of women's bodybuilding will march on. When we come back, Gayle Moher, one of the favorites. We'll be back with more Muscle Sport USA, Fox Sports Net. Back, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Tom Terwilliger, along with Steve Stone, and we are thrilled to be here as we continue with the IFBB Jan Tana Classic Pro Women's Bodybuilding event. Right now, we're taking a look at Moher, Gayle Moher, at 140 pounds and only 5'4", Steve. This athlete has definitely been the favorite since today's earlier prejudging. The talk is about the condition and the shape. Let's take a look at her, Steve. What do you think?
She was second last year, fourth the year before. She has not been out of a top 5 pro show unless it was the Miss O, which I think she'll solve this year. So to answer your question, Tommy, on how do I feel about Gayle and her condition in this show, it is excellent, and she should be posing with a lot of confidence. She will be standing on this stage when I hand out those final trophies.
You know, I mentioned earlier about slow posing, very little personality. I'll tell you, it is slow, but it's dynamic. The music is fabulous, and it really brings forth her confidence, as you mentioned earlier. Look at the condition, and that condition itself is enough to make this stage come to life.
We had mentioned before, Tommy, in previous contests that when you look great and you know you're going to do well, it is easy to pose and the routines look that much better. In Gayle's case, it all rings true. She has an excellent physique. She is in top condition, and it's all about doing your homework. The Jan Tana is one of the last events that these athletes can qualify for the Miss O. Tommy, the top 3 athletes here tonight will qualify for the upcoming Miss Olympia.
Talk about the Miss Olympia. Certainly someone that wants to gun for that title. Yaxani Oroquin at 5'8", 170 pounds may have a shot. She's going to have to make it through the incredible competition here today first.
She's done a dozen pro shows, Tommy. 5 of them were the Jan Tana Classic. This is the best condition I have ever seen her in. Her balance is better. She has improved her symmetry a lot, and she did that by bringing up her weaknesses.
Other than the fact this is an outstanding routine, what weaknesses would you point out, Steve?
Well, she did much better in the symmetry round here today. Look at the balance in this physique. Her thighs, her waist, her shoulders, everything flows. This is exactly what you were talking about before, Tommy. The physique you'd like to see on a female bodybuilder has everything to do with Yaxani.
No question about it. How about the conditioning, Steve? Could she be sharper?
If I was judging, I would definitely say yes, because right now Yaxani could be anywhere from 2nd to 6th. But if she could delineate those muscles a little bit more, there's no question she'd be 1st or 2nd.
I like the way Yaxani is also incorporating a little fitness into the routine, throwing a lot of muscle shots, certainly showing off that physique, but showing some athletic ability in a few of those moves she did earlier.
This is a beautiful athlete. Look at the muscle bellies, Tommy, and the flow of her body.
Well, the audience and the photographers are obviously loving this physique. Well, they better reload those flash bulbs because they're going to love this next one as well. No stranger to the Muscle Sport USA cameras, Peggy Schoolcraft at 5 foot, 126 pounds. She is always in top shape, isn't she, Steve?
There's no question about that, Tommy. We have seen Peggy compete at the Team Universe, win the overall, go on to the World Championships, win that. This is her pro debut. I like Peggy's physique. I believe she should be high in the scores today. Her conditioning is fabulous.
No question about it. She always does her homework, and she didn't make the common mistake you talked about earlier, Steve. A lot of professionals that come out of the amateur ranks right away think they have to be bigger than they were, and they give up a lot of the conditioning that got them there in the first place. Well, Peggy has definitely not made that mistake here, Steve.
Well, a lot of them confuse size with muscle, and you're right. Peggy didn't do that. This is what has made her famous, and that is doing it the right way, doing all the homework. Her conditioning is her forte. She knows it, and she loses a little bit in the symmetry round, Tommy, but even so, I would place her very high.
Steve, we saw a tattoo right there on her right ankle. Now, that doesn't cost the male bodybuilders much in terms of points. In fact, it may not cost them anything. Do you think it'll have any effect at all on the judging here on Peggy?
If the judges are looking at that tattoo, they're missing a beautiful physique.
No question about it, Steve. That's about as far as you have to go with that. This next athlete comes all the way from Ontario, Canada. Tracy Sackman, at 130 pounds and only 5 foot tall, Steve, creates a tremendous illusion of size on stage, and I think that's primarily because she's really done her homework in terms of conditioning. Look at that hamstring and gastrocnemius flex, Steve.
Tommy getting very technical on the calf muscle, but Tracy is a technical athlete. Her background is in figure skating. She was formerly a professional in that sport also. She has a very good physique, Tommy. Her symmetry needs work. But if you take her total package into consideration with conditioning, the symmetry, the muscularity, you would have to put her in the top 10.
Steve, at 37 years old, that should be a delight to this woman. She's been competing for quite some time, 10 years to be exact, and it's got to be rewarding just to be a pro and really be in the kind of condition that demands the kind of respect she's getting here from this audience. I think it's a terrific job by Tracy.
As far apart as you think figure skating and bodybuilding are, there are similarities. One of them is they are not team sports. You're performing on your own. The work you put into it is all put on your shoulders when you get out here in front of this audience.
No question about it. This audience is waiting to see the next 8 incredible back to Muscle Sport USA on Fox Sports Net and the Jan Tana IFBB Pro Women's Bodybuilding Championship. What's the news? Well, it's Denise Gerard from Newport News. 5'1", 125 pounds. She is the 13th and perhaps the luckiest competitor in today's competition because this is indeed her first IFBB Pro Championship.
Denise has a background in track and field, softball, and cross-country running. Her upper body is strong. Her legs are the weak link in the physique. And with a background in sports like that, you would think they would be her most dominant body part.
Well, we also know that it's the most difficult area to bring up, particularly if you're not gifted in the genetic area of that particular body part. The calves, for example, for many athletes are extremely hard to bring up. Now, I spoke to Denise earlier, and she had some trouble coming into this event. Her trainer, who had been working with her for months, was scheduled to fly down here to Virginia to help her with that last few days of preparation, decided at the last minute and informed Denise at the airport that he wouldn't be coming. That put a tremendous psychological strain on her last-minute preparation.
Especially in a sport that is so mind-bending, Tommy. You need that support system and that rock behind you.
Well, maybe not rock hard, but Viviana Violante from Milan, Italy, certainly has rock-hard confidence on stage. Look at this physique and the animal toughness that Viviana is displaying.
Well, when you talk about toughness, her background is in judo, karate, and soccer, Tommy, so she is tough.
Well, evidently, her heart is pounding pretty hard for this competition. She wants to win it. Steve, I'm going to have to go out on a limb here and say her conditioning is far from what it's going to take to do just that.
That's a pretty short limb. You're exactly right. She has an unbelievable structure. Look at how big this athlete is. She carries tons of dense, thick muscle, but it is not in condition. It is not clear, and you can't see it. This is her third Jan Tana. You think she would come in sharper.
Well, you're right, Steve. I do like the routine, though. It's really cool. It's tough. It's to the point. She's flexing a lot of muscle, but you're right. After that many years of experience, why not get it right for a change?
Now, Tommy, I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think it could be just a water imbalance?
You're right. It may very well be. I think there's quite a bit of body fat there that could be lost yet. Maybe in another month, she'd be ready. But certainly water is a contributing factor, particularly flying from Milan, Italy. The crowd reaction here in Virginia is certainly outstanding. We'll be back with more of the excitement from the Jan Tana Classic on Fox Sports Net. Japan to compete in this event. And earlier I said we saw our oldest competitor. Well, Yuri is 50 years old. Looks outstanding for that age.
She looks outstanding for any age, but she does not have the condition here to be in the top 10. She's far removed from that placing, Tommy. And it has nothing to do with her genetics or her muscularity. It's all in the conditioning, because she can still place high at the pro-level shows if she brings up those legs and does her homework on that conditioning.
I like the way she's incorporating her heritage into the music and the routine. I think it's fabulous to see a blending of the two, modern sports and the traditional Japanese arts. She's doing a fabulous job, Steve. Do you like the routine?
I do like it, Tommy. I think it would help to add to the visual flavor of the sport if the athletes would bring more of their culture to the stage.
Steve, our next competitor comes all the way from Brazil. She's 31 years old, weighed into the 154 pounds at 5'2". This is Monica Martin.
Every athlete we have seen on stage here tonight is a champion, a national champion. Monica is no different. She is the 1995 South American champion. Last year at the Jan Tana Classic, she took 12th. This year, she will be in the top 10.
Steve, I'm a little disappointed in the routine. I'm not exactly sure if there's any life to it whatsoever. You know, symbolizing putting a dime in the jukebox isn't really turning anybody on. She's not doing anything other than flexing those biceps.
Monica has a physique that could win a pro show also, Tommy, but she's not doing it here, and she knows it. Do you think knowing that takes the enthusiasm out of the routine?
No question about it, but I have to categorize this one as probably the worst routine and the least innovative I've seen here today. Where's the enthusiasm? Does she even want to be here? That's my question. She's worked this hard. At least show the audience and the judges that you're serious about this event. This next athlete certainly is from Caracas. This is Fanny Barrios at 5'2", 143 pounds. Fanny's got the muscularity to take this competition someday.
Well, she took the Caribbean Championships, Tommy. That's what gave her her pro card. In this condition, I'm sure she didn't win it. That is what is lacking. She has excellent structure and what it takes to win, but she doesn't have the condition for a pro stage.
Steve, you're absolutely right. The back of her leg's a little bit soft, although the muscular shape is there. Very powerful. Lat spread. Look at this. Great routine. She's putting a lot into it, and she does have the potential, as you say, to go all the way someday, perhaps.
Look at the hamstrings, quads, shoulders. She has excellent muscle. It all fits. It just needs to be in better shape.
Well, Steve, at 34 years old, she's not the youngest competitor in this sport. However, we have seen athletes in their 40s and 50s make massive improvements over the years. Donna Logue, at 41 years old, is certainly a testimonial to that. She's improved critically over the last 3 years alone to come into this kind of condition.
Donna is in pretty good condition, could be in better. She has excellent genetics and all it takes to be in top 5 at any pro level show. Tommy, what's interesting about Donna is really her diversified background.
You're right, Steve. She's brilliant. She's an auto racer. She builds hot rod cars, a member of the auto club. She's also a certified personal trainer. And I'll tell you what, she can train me anytime. She looks like she can get the job done, but she's going to need a little more time to peak for an event like this since the competition is so tough.
Donna herself is very tough. A number of years ago, she had suffered a broken back, spent a year in bed, and then another year in a brace. And I'm sure the therapy and the weight training to get her back in shape brought her into the sport of bodybuilding.
Steve, any mere mortal would have given it up. Would have said, this is it. I'm just going to live my life, be cautious, but not an athlete of this caliber. It shows you the tenacity of bodybuilders and what it really takes to get here. Continuing to add to the international flavor of today's event, this incredible athlete is the Brazilian champion, Angela Dibatine. At 5'3", 130 pounds, Steve, she's only 30 years old. Those stats will get her a long way in this sport.
In addition to her stats, it's her genetics that are going to get her a long way in the sport. She has beautiful structure, and that is what the judges are looking at right now.
With that in mind, Steve, are they looking at hard granite muscle? Are they looking at something that might be retaining some water? And I think maybe if that is the case, could it be from the traveling like we talked about earlier?
Well, there are indications that she may be holding water. You can see her muscles don't delineate enough, and it doesn't look like fat. It's just a fine layer that separates them. And a lot of people who are new to the international travel and the airplane flights with the decompression and the altitude, they have a hard time moderating their water intake to give them that clarity.
Well, Steve, I think you hit it on the nose, and it's really difficult for someone who's only competed, say, in South America or Norway, now competing in the United States, making that transition that much more difficult. Our next competitor, Moher Horness, 5'8", 176 pounds, comes from Oslo, Norway. Let's see if she's been able to make that transition as she takes some of the ballet culture to the stage of bodybuilding.
Tommy, let's do a little bit of math. Classic ballet for 15 years, 11 years of powerlifting and bodybuilding gives you what?
Well, let me break my calculator out. Actually, I think I've got it. Moher.
There's no question about it. And you can see how fluid she is, how artful she is, and you love this type of routine.
I think she made it, too, in terms of the water retention we were talking about earlier, Steve. Coming all the way from Norway can be very challenging. But look at the condition on Moher. She is absolutely superb. Not an ounce of water, or as they say in bodybuilding, a thimble to be seen.
Moher had surgery on both her legs last year, so when you talk about obstacles to overcome, there's none greater than that to try to train for a pro bodybuilding contest.
Steve, the excitement has reached a peak here in Virginia, and when we come back, we'll take a look at the top 5 at the IFBB Jan Tana Pro Women's Bodybuilding Classic, Fox Sports Net, but to advance their careers at the same time. What a terrific job. The judges are now making that all too important decision. Who's it going to be? It's going to be close. We know that. That decision is in, and the winner of the IFBB Jan Tana Classic is none other than, well, Steve called it, Gayle Moher. What an incredible competition. Steve called it. She was the champion and looked fabulous the entire way through today's event. None other than a consummate professional.
In second place, Yatseni Oroquin. Third, Valentina Chapiga. Fourth, Betty Pariso. Fifth, Peggy Schoolcraft.
Receiving her check, roses, and congratulations from promoter Jan Tana on a fabulous job well done. Steve, we're going to send it over to you for an interview with our overall champion. Get all the info because she did a fabulous job here today at the Jan Tana. Over to you, Steve.
Thanks, Tommy. We're here with the newest IFBB Pro Champion, Gayle Moher. Gayle, 3 years ago, 96, in Dallas, you won the Nationals. Awesome competition. You've always placed top 5 at pro events. Last year, second to Lisa Lewis. You're here today. How's it feel?
I don't know. I haven't quite sunk in yet. I really don't. Same as the Nationals, it didn't sink in for about a year, so I just amazed, I guess. Most women have families, run businesses, as well as compete, so we have it 10 times as hard as the men, and we still have to, find time to weight train, do the cardio, and I just wish we could reap more rewards from it.
Well, you need more time. You have all that background, so you must have a huge support system. Gayle, we wish your trainer good health, and we wish you a lot of success at the upcoming Miss Olympia contest. So for our cameras, we'd like you to hit that side chest shot, please. I'll take these roses. There she is, the champion of the IFBB Jan Tana Pro Women's Bodybuilding Classic, Gayle Moher. We'll be back with more.